true personal growth ultimately will lead to fulfillment. And it's my intention with these podcasts to connect more deeply with you. Thank you for joining me, Anne Corbin, and my guests, and welcome to this episode. Welcome to another interview-style podcast today. My guest is Joanne Kelleher, but we'll call her Jo because Jo is a friend. And Jo is a qualified high-performance psychologist, hypnotherapist, and business mentor. And her mission is to help high achievers overcome their fears, anxieties, and mental blocks so that they can take success to the next level, specifically in sport, but also in business and education. And Jo is absolutely a soul after my own heart because mind, body, and spirit is what she's all about. So, Jo, lovely to have you here. Thank you very much for agreeing to speak.
And thank you very much for inviting me. I feel real honoured that you've let me come and speak on your podcast.
It's an absolute pleasure. So I suppose the first thing I want to ask you to talk about is, what made you want to be a high-performance psychologist?
So when I was quite young and I was at school, I got bullied a lot. So I didn't do very much study, to be fair. So my qualifications were quite low, but I was always passionate about sport and high performance. And I think when we're at school, we don't always think that we can work and have that education that we do when we get older. So I think I had that more motivation to be able to learn as I got older. And it was in 2002 when my life changed, when my mum passed away. And for years I've been wanting to work and be a sports psychologist, be a performance psychologist. I thought, no, this is the time I need to do that. So I took that time where I went to the Open University to study psychology. But I felt at that point that I still wasn't making that difference. I wanted to get across to people. I wanted to help people to develop themselves because I know that we can. Everyone has that ability to have success. So I took a year out and I trained to be a hypnotherapist, life coach. And that's where I started on that journey to help people. And eventually in 2017, I finally got that dream of being a sports psychologist and a performance psychologist that I had when I was 18. So it shows that you can do what you want. You don't have to do it when you first leave school. So I was really proud of myself. But due to the jobs that I'd done, I felt that I need to do that, not just in sport, but also in business and education, to enable people to know that they can get and create success in their lives if they connect that mind, that body, and that spirit.
You are so right. Just for people who can't see the background behind you, I just want to describe it. It says, focus on how far you've come, not how far you have to go, which says it all really, because most of us are held back by what we feel we ought to be doing or where we ought to be, rather than enjoying the moment.
And also looking back, one of the things I tell my clients is, we're so busy chasing the ideal, chasing that next goal, that we forget how far we've come. And if we can measure success backwards by looking at how we've progressed, then that makes us happier. We get more confidence, we get better self-esteem, we improve on our resilience because we realize that actually we're stronger and braver than we thought we were. But we forget those key moments of success, because if we're looking towards where we need to go, that success disappears and we're concentrating on that next thing that we want to achieve. So by looking at how far we've come, then creates that happiness and that making you feel successful, because we are successful. Not a lot of people, many people think they're not, because they're chasing that ideal all the time.
You're right. Do you know, my students, I always tell them, celebrate, even if it's a small win, celebrate because it's important, and you need to give yourself credit. And we're our own worst enemies. It's something that we just don't, sorry, not enemies, critics, that's what I meant to say. We're our own worst critics, and we're never satisfied. At least people like me are never satisfied. There's always something else to reach for and strive for.
And it's like that perfect perfectionist, isn't it? That we always want to be perfect. We never want to celebrate imperfect action. And really, that's where the learning comes from. That's where we can see that we're human, because we need to live life. We need to enjoy life. And when we're chasing every single goal and we're not taking in our progression, our sort of journey, I suppose, we forget that in the moment, this is special. We'll never get it back. It will always be gone. We can't turn back time. We can't go forward in time. So we really need to understand that what we're doing now is okay, and that we can achieve great things. We don't have to do it all in one go. We're doing it right now. Everybody is at the best version of themselves right now. We just don't realize it sometimes.
And we need to enjoy the journey, because time is massively more important than money. You can borrow money, can't you? But you can't borrow time.
And I always say that to the athletes that I work with: concentrate on the process, not the outcome. And I remember there was Emma Raducanu that won the US Open last year. And what happens is, when she was in Wimbledon, she froze. What we call in the sporting industry, she choked. And
yes, I saw that happen. I was so sorry for her. So I knew exactly where she was in her mind.
And she was thinking of the outcome. She'd built up Wimbledon as this huge event, whereas she concentrated on her mindset to work upon the process. And then only a few months later, she goes and she takes one match at a time, and then she won the US Open. And as athletes, we can look at how they work on using the process rather than performance, and transfer that into whether it's your career, your business, in education, or in life in general, that we concentrate on the process and the outcome will come. We just have to trust it. We have to believe it, that we don't need to know the whole journey. We just need to believe that we will get to the outcome if we take it one step at a time and use that process, believing the universe will guide us to the right direction. We don't need to have it all figured out every single step of the way.
Lovely. So now let's talk about mind, body, and spirit, and how do you use that within your practice?
So being a hypnotherapist and a sports psychologist and performance psychologist, that in itself could be a little bit of a conflict, because the traditional performance psychologist is very much working on the research of what has been proven, and that they base it and underpin their practice on everything that they do. And they do a lot of what's called mental skills, which is a lot of CBT, where you tell somebody what they need to do in order to improve themselves. However, we know that it doesn't always work that way. We can tell somebody what they need to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will do it, because we know, and I call them our ants. We have automatically negative thoughts in our brain that fill this part of our brain matter, which is where we create high performance. And when we fill it up with these negative thoughts, we get a blockage. And this blockage stops us from allowing that natural pathway between our mind and our body to work together in order to create new skills. And we have to allow to challenge those negative thoughts in order to clear that pathway. I'm a great believer in using the spiritual side and using the spirit in order to help us clear those. We don't necessarily need to use the whole scientific, because you and I know they work. We might not have research on these processes, but they work, and we just have to trust that the process happens. So
well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how to drive a car. I certainly couldn't. Sorry, I couldn't put a car together, but that doesn't stop me from driving it. And that's the same argument I use when I'm at the computer. I've no idea what's going on inside, but I can use it.
And for me, it's about clearing that pathway, so the spirit, so that the mind, the body, and the spirit can work together. And that's when we create those flow moments, those high performance moments where we know that we're in flow and everything's going smoothly. And that's when we feel that self-actualization, that we know we're on the right path. And I think by linking all three of them together means that I can work holistically as a high performance psychologist, using the skills that I've had over the years to get the best results. Because some people are very, very different. They don't just need to be told what the strategies are. We also need to do a little bit of mind work and work together. So
yes, let's talk about mental fitness.
Yes, yeah. So
how do you develop that?
So the mental fitness, when I work with athletes and with performers, is we have the performance triangle, and so many people in performance concentrate on their physical fitness. They concentrate on the techniques and the skills, but actually, if we haven't got the mental fitness, you're not going to get the edge in whether it's sport, education, or in business. So I work with the mental fitness, which is helping you develop that vision, that focus, but also to work within getting your, the thoughts in our head that we're talking to ourselves, rather than listening to the thoughts in our head. We always say to people, we've got 2 ears, 1 mouth, so therefore we should listen and we should then less speaking. But actually, when we're talking about ourselves, we should listen less to ourselves and talk more to ourselves, in order to develop that mental fitness, so that when we go out in performance, we've got that edge. Because when you think physically or technically, there's so many people at the same level, and it's their mental fitness that takes them to the next level of their success and be ahead of the game.
Absolutely, yes. I'm only interested in tennis, but you can totally see the difference mental fitness makes with the really top players.
Yeah.
Because, I remember seeing a Federer match once. I think it was the final, Wimbledon, about 5 years ago, and the opponent just fell apart because he didn't have the mental strength to take on Federer, I suppose.
And also, I think I've seen it with Djokovic as well, where you look at the mental fitness of some of his opponents at the beginning. They can really take on the skill level, but actually when it gets towards 5 sets, they struggle.
They can't hold it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So tell me, what qualifies you to be a mentor in developing mental fitness, sports, business, education?
But not only being a qualified sports performance psychologist, that's just a little bit small part of it, because I believe it's all about life experiences too. So I've been an athlete, I've worked in business, I've shown that education, you can do what it takes in order to get to being a professional doctorate qualification. And I got very little qualifications at school. And I had an English teacher that told me that I'd never get anywhere in life because I couldn't speak or comprehend English, because I couldn't pass the exam. I failed one of the exams, but I passed another. So I actually did get that exam, but I've not done too badly to get to a professional doctorate qualification. But also I've worked within welfare to work, I've worked in education, I've got my own successful business working as a hypnotherapist, as well as then coming on and qualifying in sports and high performance psychologist. And I've been able to mentor people in different areas in sport, business and education, and got those results, because it doesn't matter in what modality, where you are, what industry it is. If you develop your mindset and your mental fitness, you will have a more fulfilling life and a more fulfilling career, business, education, or your athletic ability.
Absolutely. And you have a starter kit special offer for my listeners.
Yes, so I have the Ultimate Mental Fitness Starter Kit. I set this up because there's so many people want to know where they want to get started, hence the starter kit. And I have put a link in the show notes to give us a gift really to your audience, so they can receive that for only £29, and that offer will be available for your podcast listeners.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I think we've covered everything that I wanted to discuss today. Anything I've left out?
No, I think it's just really, my mission is to allow everyone to have like mental fitness, and not just be for the elite athletes. And I think that's what my mission is to ensure that performance psychology is available to everyone and not just the elite. But thank you very much for allowing me to speak on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
It's been wonderful having you. I just love the way you talk about mental fitness and the combination of mind, body and spirit, because that's where it's all at as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Set yourself up to win at the game of life. Become familiar with the laws of the universe. You have infinite potential. You can influence reality. Quantum growth and connection explores success strategies, power principles, relationship rescue, and the quantum field.